Thanks. Thank you.
I don't know where that is.
They'll probably point out when we're on their boat.
Oh, okay, but tell us how to get there.
So there's a gift shop. Glacier National Park has a lot of bears. So this would be a good book to read to scare you if you're camping. I guess the park was established in 1910. So this is McDonald Lodge. And lots of taxidermy on the walls, and you can stay here. This is not a toy. You may play if you're a skilled musician on this 1910 Hamilton piano. So there's boat tours, accommodation, and food available here at the McDonald Lodge.
So you're more than welcome to get up and move about the boat as you like. Once again, the only place that has any restrictions is the very top deck. Only allows 6 people at a time up there. But everywhere else is fair game, including this middle deck that I will be standing on. Just to introduce your crew. For a second here, my name is Jack. Originally I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. It's my second year here with Glacier Park Boat Company, but I have been moving around. As much of the boat as possible is still the original. The seats you guys are sitting down in the main cabin are the original seats. The windows are the original windows. The cable steering that Ellis is using is the original cable steering. She is 56 feet long by 12 feet wide, weighs in at 18 tons. And believe it or not, it took Billy and his crew only 6 weeks to build her in her entirety. So to say that they were skilled craftsmen is putting it very lightly. This Met is the largest boat we have in our fleet here. At Glacier Park Boat Company, the fleet consists of 7 different boats. This Met is the flagship that we have in our fleet here at Glacier Park Boat Company. Personally, my favorite boat to drive in the entire park. If you guys do have any questions throughout the tour, please feel free to come on up and ask me. I always like talking about what you guys want to hear about. Makes your tour a lot more enjoyable and makes my job a whole lot easier. So don't be afraid to come on up. Like I said, I'll be in this deck for a month or two. What year was the lodge built? So originally it was known as the Lewis Glacier Hotel. Construction began in 1912, but it wasn't completed until 1914. It's changed hands and names a few times since then, but it was completed in 1914. I'll get a little bit into deeper detail later in the tour on that. What peaks are we seeing off of the right-hand side? So we are seeing, starting from left, going right, we are seeing Mount Stanton on the very left, Mount Vaught. In the very back, we have the Garden Wall. To the right of the Garden Wall, we have Mount Cannon. And to the right of Cannon, we have Mount Brown. A little bit later in the tour, we will be able to see a few more mountains. We can't see them right now, but I will point them out when we can see them. We will be able to see one of the few mountains in the park that has a peak of over 10,000 feet. Any wildlife? Yeah, so we see a whole lot of wildlife on this tour, hopefully if we are lucky. We will pass an eagle's nest, so we'll see some bald eagles if they're home. We see a lot of mule deer and white-tailed deer in this area. We will very, very, very rarely see some bears around here. We see a bear about once a year on tour, so if you guys are lucky, then this will be the tour, but pretty rarely we see a bear. Why do bears live here? That's a good question. So there's a few different reasons. One, all the food that they like is here. They like eat huckleberries a whole lot. And this is one of the only places in the entire country where huckleberries grow. Another reason why they live here and why they live on the east side of the park more specifically is because it is really wide open and there's a lot of space for them to walk around and roam. They, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, do not like us very much. They do not like people. So that's why they head over to the east side of the park. There's a whole lot of room for them to roam and not very many people over there. They also like the climate here. So it's real cold in the winter, but that's okay because they hibernate. And in the summertime, it is real nice. So those are the main reasons why those live here. Have I seen any forest fires here? Personally, I have not seen any forest fires, but I have seen plenty of smoke from forest fires. Last year, there was a forest fire up in Banff National Park in Canada. Shout out to Canada. And that forest fire grew so large that the smoke came down here. We saw some of the smoke up from Banff. It's about quite a ways away. So pretty big forest fire. We have seen 2 forest fires on this ridge right here that we are about to arrive to. This ridge here is called Howell Ridge. We've seen 2 forest fires in recent memory. The most recent was in 2018 with the aptly named Howell Ridge Forest Fire. That burned about 17,000 acres of land. But the biggest forest fire we've seen in Glacier National Park history was in 2003 with the Robert Forest Fire. That was about 57,000 acres.
And also, it looks like we have some people trying to get up, so if you've just been up here for a while, if you don't mind cycling through, that'd be great. Thank you, guys.
What type of sea animals are in the lake? We have a whole lot of fish. We have kokanee salmon, not as much as we once had in the kokanee salmon. We have a lot of lake trout, a lot of bull trout, cutthroat trout. We have northern pike minnow, and the northern pike minnow are going to start surfacing up here in about a month, and they'll start swimming so close to the surface that you can see them flying on the dock. So if you look up to the right-hand side of the boat, you will begin to see a few cabins on the shoreline here. Those cabins are what we call Kelly's Camp. Kelly's Camp is the first housing offered to tourists here in Glacier National Park. It started in 1894 by Frank and Emmeline Kelly when they got a homesteading contract from the U.S. government. Frank and Emmeline, they ran Kelly's Camp until the 1930s. In its heyday, it consisted of 30 different cabins, a general store, and a chapel. Frank and Emmeline ran it until the 30s. That's when they both passed away, only one day apart from each other, due to pneumonia. And that's when their son Vern and his wife took it over. Vern and his wife, they ran it until 1954. That's when Vern passed away, and his wife sold all the cabins into private property. That's where they stand today. So all the cabins that we see on the lake, about 20 in total, all of them are privately owned. The only way to get access to them is either being born into or marrying into one of the families. That is, unless the entire last name of the family comes to an end, then they do get the right to sell it. Last year there was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom cabin down in Apgar on about an acre of land, and it sold for $15 million. So the marriage route sounds a whole lot easier than the sale route.
Boys, watch out. Here, buddy. Which way?
So now if you guys take a look up the right-hand side one more time here, you should be able to see a little bundle of sticks up in one of the trees here, one of these dead trees on the ridge. That bundle of sticks is one of our resident bald eagle's nests. If the entire boat is one giant clock, it's right at about our 2:30 right now.
Do you see the bald eagles there? I told myself like 5
The National Park Service has asked us to keep the noise down as we pass by the eagle's nest, so I'm going to hang up the microphone for a few minutes as we get past the nest.
That's amazing. You wouldn't think it. You'd think 2 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't look
You know? I'm shocked that it's 6 feet.
How wide is it?
We have to ask Alice. Or Jax.
Hi, Mark.
Hey.
From Texas. From Texas. You win for the longest duration. You know that, right?
You took a flight though, so I don't know if that counts, man.
Even the Edmonton people, I think, drove down.
I think you should take
Looks like any of the eagles were home today. That's okay, they're probably out. We have 2 eagles that live in that nest. Their names are Big Mac and Pickles. They have 2 eggs in that nest.
How do they know that?
We have 6 bald eagles on the lake today. But if you were here in the 1980s, you would have been lucky enough to see 600. salmon, they invaded the Flathead region in the 1910s. But we didn't notice any coasting salmon in Lake McDonald until the 70s, and by that point there was 115,000 coasting salmon in the lake. The bald eagles really like these coasting salmon a whole lot, so where the salmon go, the eagles will follow. That's why we saw so many of these bald eagles here in the 80s. Now, why don't we see that many anymore? The reason for that is because once we saw the opportunity we had on our hands here, the National Park Service wanted to take good advantage of it, and so they introduced licensed shrimp into the lake. There was a lake up in Canada around the same time that had a similar situation going on. They introduced licensed shrimp into the lake. The salmon plucked up nice and big in size, and really good for the eagle's growth and development. It worked out really well. So we tried to do the same thing here. The only problem when we tried to do it is that the salmon and the shrimp, they fed at different times, so they never really interacted with one another. And that led to the salmon dying out.
Interesting.
And once again, where the food goes, the eagles will follow. So they went to the east side of the park, or outside of the park entirely. That's why we only see about 6 bald eagles on the lake today. We still have about 2,000 coastal salmon on the lake. Now, question, we often go here on tour, we also did get it earlier. What kind of wildlife can we see? Like I said, we do see those deer a lot, do see bald eagles. But if you were looking to see some of the big animals that you come to Glacier National Park to see, like bear, moose, you do want to go over to the east side of the park. The east side's going to have a lot more.
They're all.
2 years ago, in 2000,
Everybody say hi.
there was a
1, 2, 3.
mama goat walking around.
Thank
some
you.
of her young, some of her calves over at Many Glacier. That's when a bear came and started messing with some of her young. Obviously, Mama Moose did not like that very much, so she went on the offensive, and she drove the bear directly into the gift shop of the Many Glacier Hotel. Luckily, nobody was hurt. No animals were hurt. But the entire thing was caught on video and posted to YouTube. So once you guys get some service, look up Many Glacier Bear and Moose. It's a minute and a half, very well spent. Not on the tour, but if you go over to Fish Creek, that's where our boathouse is, you can see a sunken ship, the Luatana. The Luatana used to be how they transported passengers from the foot of the lake at Apgar up to Lake McDonald Lodge before the road, the Golden Sun Road, was built. But there are multiple ships sunken. The Emmeline, that's the ship that the people at Kelly's Camp use to ferry passengers back and forth. That is a sunken ship. However, luckily, there has never been an accidental ship sinking. Every single time that a ship has sunk, it has been on purpose. Why? Yeah, why? That's a good question. It's an ancient tradition that once you do not need a ship anymore, you sink it on the lake or body of water that it most commonly coursed. The microphone and give you guys a chance to get some pictures. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, I guess it's true that and that would be what I would say. I would agree with that because one of my former bosses used to argue that it was just a one-way scale right there. We only measure different ways.
Alrighty, so as you guys are able to see, we do have a few mountains here in the valley. Once again, starting from the lefternmost mountain up above Kelly's camp. That is Mount Stanton, named after Lottie Stanton. Lottie. If you drink it, like I said, it will for the most part be fine. You do run the risk of getting Giardia, which is a disease that you can learn more about on your own time. I'm not really tour appropriate to talk about the symptoms of Giardia over the microphone. No, I will not tell you.
No, ask your parents.
So if you look on the right side of the ship now, you see Snyder Ridge. Snyder Ridge, the trees here, like I was saying, do look pretty good compared to the trees over on Howe Ridge across the lake now. Some of the trees have been here for a very, very long time. Thousands and thousands of years some of these trees have been here.
Well, my Canadian friend.
Very, very long ago, there was a mudslide that brought a whole bunch of the trees, dirt, rocks, mud, all of that type of stuff down underwater. So some of you might have heard of the underwater trees of Lake McDonald, or like an underwater world here on the lake. That's about 300 feet below where we are sailing right now. A little bit earlier in the tour, I was talking about scuba diving. This is where most of the scuba divers will dive to. It is, like I said, one of the most dangerous things you can do in the entire park. The reason for that is because we are diving at an elevation of about 3,500 feet. And you do need to do some pretty complicated math to figure out exactly how the course is qualifying. He won the deed to the land in a game of poker with one of his good friends. He began work in 1912, completed work on the lodge in 1914. And you might notice that that is before the Going to the Sun Road was completed. So the original way to get to the lodge is by doing it with your way by boat. Passengers would get aboard one of the many passenger boats. If you look up the steps, it's all hanging down, and you actually look like a moving complex. The Brooklyn Railroad acquired the lodge in the 1930s. They changed the name to Lake McDonald Lodge for that Swiss-style architecture that we see today. The last major renovations that happened to the lodge were in the 1980s. That's what seems to be over there. I'm certain. So Captain Ellis is going to begin our docking procedures in just a few minutes here. So I want to thank you all so much for coming on tour today. We are Glacier Park Boat Company, a small family-owned business on our third generation. As a token of our appreciation to you, we have a few families at our together. We have a vessel passport for our accident. We have a postcard, or we have a QR code where you guys can buy some merch. You can also review my tour. One more time, my name is Jack. If you did not look before, then my name is Douglas. Let's get a round of applause for Ellis, who did a great job presenting the show today. Thank you all so much one more time. Enjoy the rest of your stay here at Glacier National Park.
Callum.